Welcome. This is the Rip Griffin Show podcast, a baseball podcast for baseball fans of all ages. Now, here's your host, Rip Griffin.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Rip Griffin Show, episode number 54. Tonight I've got my co-host with me, Brad Chandler. Brad, what's going on, man?
Hey bro, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Hey, we got a different format tonight, which is going to be kind of exciting for us to dive into. So we're going to do, we're both repping Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
Because there's a theme tonight for tonight's episode. We're going to dive into Ken Griffey Jr. We're going to dive into the Seattle Mariners. We're going to dive into some other things as well. And it's exciting to kind of talk about because he just had his birthday on Saturday, the 21st.
Yeah. The kid is 51.
51 years old. And he doesn't look it, to be quite honest.
He still looks the same, in my opinion. Like, I'm pretty shocked to know that it's 51, dude.
It's really amazing. I mean, that's why they call him the kid, because he doesn't age. He still has, like, he can still go out there and, rake it with the best of these guys in the major leagues.
Yeah, I mean, the kid, he what year was he? He was on 94. He was on pace to beat Roger Maris, and before the strike even happened. Right. So he had 40 homers by the time that strike started. So I mean, could you imagine what he would have been able to do with an extra 2 months?
It's amazing. He would have eclipsed his career record, which was back in 97 and 98, where he hit 56 home runs. He easily would have surpassed that. He would have, like you mentioned, he would have doubled. I don't want to say doubled Roger Maris, but he definitely would have probably, 65, 67 home runs.
Imagine if it was broken before, Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire had their little steroid band, thing with that they were doing, I mean, you got to think the kid was really the premier athlete at that time.
Oh, absolutely. He was by far one of the best at the game, especially in his position at center field. I mean, because 10 Gold Gloves over a season of over a career of 22 years he played in the major leagues. So he was one of the best, if not the best center fielder, and that's kind of hard to compare, especially when you have guys like Willie Mays.
Right? I mean, come on. The guy had 13. He was the 13-time All-Star. He was the American League MVP in 97. He won 10 consecutive Gold Glove awards from 1990 to 99. And that swing, my God, man. People still talk about it today. I know it's been a while since he's been, he last played in 2010 for the Mariners, but seeing some of his videos nowadays, it's he literally had the sexiest swing. Oh, he had one of the greatest swings. I don't know. I don't know. I have a crush on that swing.
Don't tell your girlfriend that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that.
But here he was the Silver Slugger Award winner 7 times. He was the American League home run leader in 94, and then he was from 97 to 99. How crazy is that?
It's insane. I mean, those numbers. If it happened in today's era, there would be question marks behind it because of the PED thing, like you mentioned, between McGwire and Sosa and those guys, that Bonds even, for example. So if you hear about those type of numbers today, people are going to speculate. And he was probably the most true, most fluid batter with that swing, like you mentioned. And it's one of those, you can see it over and over again and just, not be amazed.
I was just watching some replays of some of his at-bats, and I could sit there and literally just watch it over and over again. So
Oh, absolutely. As a kid, I tried to emulate that swing.
Good luck. Especially, I tried emulating it, and I'm a righty, and I was like, you know what? Let me try this switch hitting thing, and man, it was so bad.
It as easy as it looks on film. It's actually, I mean, a lot difficult. And he kind of had, the quick whip around, and it just he would sit there and drop the bat and kind of watch the ball, and boom, he's around the bases. And it doesn't get any better than that. That is your old school, typical, power slugging swing.
Right. So, so like you said earlier, we're doing we're doing something a little different. We're trying a different feature here. So we're going to start off talking about Ken Griffey Jr. like we have. Then we're going to get into some baseball news, and then we're going to end it off with some Seattle Mariners news. Absolutely. So with that being said, let's start off. So in 1990, you've got some news that happened in 90 with Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, so back in 1990, he is he's the only player that actually played with his dad on the same team. They were both playing for the Seattle Mariners at that time. So his dad, Ken Griffey Sr., was around age 40 when he was kind of ending the end of his career. Ken Griffey Jr. is coming into his career. He was it was in his second year. But there was a game back in 1990 against the then California Angels.
August 31st, 1990.
August 31st, 1990. Ken Griffey Jr. or Ken Griffey Sr. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go senior, junior. That way we don't get them mixed up here.
Actually, I'm pretty sure it went senior, junior too.
It did. So senior steps up first, and of course he hits a solo home run. Does his trot around the bases. Junior comes up, tries to I don't know if you want to say he tries to one up his dad, but he does the same thing.
Have you seen the video recently?
I have,
and it's almost in the same spot too.
It's very crazy. Opposite field, left center field,
right?
And it's just you can't help but Junior smiling around the bases like, yeah, Dad, I got you.
Right. I think. One thing I think that was really cool, and doing some research on this, is the fact that junior and senior, they both were the first to be father-son in the MLB, but they didn't do it just one game. They played 51 games before senior ended up retiring.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. As a kid, you're coming up and you've been around the clubhouse, you've been around major league players all your life, and to be able to have that moment with your dad on the same team in the same game, back-to-back home runs, and then also to play an additional 50 games with each other, it's truly remarkable. And we don't see that here in our age, because a lot of the players that we grew up watching are retired, and their kids are coming into the mix now. But it's truly something fascinating. It's probably a once in a lifetime opportunity for those two, obviously, but it's still exciting to be able to play with your dad and actually share the outfield with him as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other better feeling having that bond with your father. And I'm pretty sure that that's how Ken Griffey Jr. ended up making that impact in baseball, because of his father. He was around the clubhouses and whatnot with his dad throughout his career. And, another thing that I found funny with Ken Griffey Jr. and actually Senior, their first name isn't Ken.
No. You know what? I did not even research that, to be honest. But
you know what threw me off about that? And I didn't even have to actually do the research on this. I went to the Hall of Fame last year, and I'm looking for Ken Griffey Jr.'s plaque, and I see George Griffey Jr., and I'm like, wait, is that his name? George? Why is he going by Ken? So Ken is his middle name.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. So definitely learned something this evening. But, I mean, a lot of players, they do tend to, kind of change their name into a surname or something to kind of give it more of that baseball name, that.
Well, look at Mookie Betts. His name's not Mookie; it's Marcus.
Mookie sounds cooler.
No, it does, but I'm just saying, like his name's not Mookie. Right. I remember the first time I found out his name wasn't actually Mookie. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Who is
his
that
name's
guy?
Marcus? Right.
Who is that guy? But kind of wrapping up here on Ken Griffey Jr. real quick. He played for 3 teams. Do you know who the third team was?
Chicago White Sox.
I did not know that until I researched that.
I knew that, but like it kind of like slipped my mind until I started looking it up. I knew he played for the Mariners, obviously. He also played for the Reds. And then when I saw that he played for Chicago White Sox, I was like, really? And it's almost like remembering that Frank Thomas played for the Blue Jays.
Wow, I did not know that either.
It was in like Frank Thomas played for the Blue Jays. Randy Johnson played for the Astros. I knew you would know that, but I'm just saying, it's like you don't think about that stuff. It's like, wow, he played for the Chicago White Sox. I'm pretty sure that was like the last thing he really wanted to do was play for the White Sox. No offense to the White Sox fans out there, but there was a couple little things that I wanted to add with like some tidbits on Ken Griffey Jr. So he is the only person to hit the warehouse in right field in Baltimore. Now, I don't know. Did you know that? You looked that up? Yeah. So that was pretty cool to find out. He's the only person to hit the warehouse out in Baltimore at Camden Yards. The other thing that I actually think is amazing is the fact that in 1995, Ken Griffey Jr. had a little thing against the Yankees. They were playing in the ALDS, and his team was down. They ended up coming back, and there was a thing where Ken Griffey Jr. was asked if he would ever play for the Yankees, and he said, if the Yankees were the last team to offer me a contract, I would retire. As a Red Sox fan, that just tells me that we actually had a chance. We had a chance, and we just blew it. We didn't do it.
Every other team was probably kicking themselves because the opportunity was there to actually have him, and they feared that they probably couldn't do it because he wouldn't consider them at all. But in reality, he probably would have, as long as it wasn't the Yankees.
Right. I mean, that was fun to watch or find out.
So I got one little tidbit of fun fact. See if you know. So Ken Griffey Jr. has the second most hits among left fielders. Born on 11/21, he was born in Donner, Pennsylvania. Do you know who the first person was?
No, I'm not even gonna. Tell me.
Stan Musial.
Oh wow!
Wow. Yes.
That's a little strange that they have that little thing in common.
A little fun fact there to kind of end the segment on Ken Griffey Jr. So
right. So I think that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was cool to get something out there, and we learned a little bit about Ken Griffey Jr. So there's been some news out in Nolan Arenado seems to be it seems that he's going to be on the trading block.
It's interesting because this seems to be the topic every offseason with Nolan Arenado. He's come out publicly and voiced his unhappiness with Colorado and the organization and how it has been conducting things. And, I can kind of understand his situation because, he's a guy. He was drafted in the second round back in 2019 out of Arizona State. He was called up in 2013. But since then, he has been Mr. Consistent every year. He's been a 5-time All-Star, 8 Gold Gloves since he's been called up.
How many platinum gloves?
4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I can understand. He's doing everything that he's supposed to as a player of that organization, as a third baseman for that organization. But the Rockies are, I don't know, it's ownership.
They're not willing to pay put the money into building around him, and
Exactly.
that's the biggest problem that they're having this with Nolan Arenado. I believe it was last year, the beginning of spring training last year. There was problems already brewing
Right.
between him and the vice president. I want to say I'm not 100% sure on that one. But someone in management was talking about possibly trading him, and he's like, "Dude, I just signed a 8-year extension with you guys for $260 million. Like, what's going on?" And first of all, like, you also got to remember that he has his contract was for 8 years, but it had a full no trade clause.
Right.
So if there was any possibility that he was going to get traded, he had to be okay with it. He had to sign off on it. Now, the one thing that I find kind of fascinating about his 8-year contract is the fact that they put an opt-out so close and there. So after like next year, the player has an opt-out, not the team.
Right. So after the 2021 season, he can opt out, and he would still have $164 million remaining on that contract that he signed the extension to.
Right. And so now there's talks about, he wants to be on a contender. I mean, which you can't really blame the guy. I mean, everybody wants to be on a contending team. You don't want to be in a garbage team your entire career.
Right.
And so now the rumors started swirling about how the Dodgers are interested in Nolan Arenado. Now, I don't know if you've heard today. I just found out earlier today that the Cardinals are also interested.
Oh, okay. No, I hadn't heard that. I knew the Dodgers were, at least from the weekend, were the team that were possibly in the mix to trade for him. But we got a new suitor. I think, weren't the Cardinals the team last year that were kind of in the running for his services?
I believe so. I'd have to double check on that to make sure. But
anyways, let's talk about the Dodgers for a second, because they're coming off a World Series in 2020. They signed Mookie Betts to that long-term deal. So I kind of did some numbers, and now we know that the possibility of Justin Turner not returning to the Dodgers is probably becoming more and more clear.
Right.
Simply because he's age 36, I believe, and
he's up there in age.
Yeah, he's up there in age. So the Dodgers are going to be shopping for a third baseman soon. They've got some guys in the farm system that would probably be ready to contribute in the next couple of years. But, they want to continue that streak in that contention in the West, winning the West, and also, defending the World Series title. And Arenado is probably the best third baseman on the market. Well, I wouldn't say on the market because he's not officially on the market. But the Dodgers would have to do some major lineup and financial rearranges to sign him, because right now they have a payroll of $170 million. Now, we all know that the threshold for the 2021 luxury tax is $210 million.
Right.
So if you look at it this way, after they have made all their 40-man roster updates, you've got benefits, you've got your minor league salaries, it comes out to $192 million. So that gives them around $17 million to play with this offseason.
Right.
For any type of free agent or trade acquisitions.
Now, do the minor leagues does that affect the tax threshold, like for the major league team?
It does. It counts.
Okay.
It counts towards about 2 million, 2.5, I think.
Okay.
So it does add into that tax threshold. So here are some other things. The Dodgers are still paying a salary for the trade that they made to the Twins that sent Kenta Maeda to the Twins. That's $564,000. So they still have that.
500 what?
564,000.
Oh, okay, that's like pennies to them.
Yeah. So, but it's still, yeah, it's still
And
counts, though.
you also got to remember, like, they can go over the threshold.
Right. Right. They can, and they'll just have to pay, an additional fee or tax or whatever to, the other teams and whatnot. But
Right.
it's free money for other teams if they go over. But they're also still paying a deferred salary to Scott Kazmir. So there's still about $8 million left on that, but it's probably $1 million or so that they're paying him every year. But the Dodgers,
That's crazy. I hate that whole like deferred monies thing.
It kind of I'm kind of like with it for players. I think if they want to be able to help their club compete and yet still get money after they're done playing, it kind of makes sense. I mean, you look at Christian Yelich, Bobby Bonilla for also.
He's like the king of deferred money.
The guy still get $1 million for another 10 more years.
Yeah, every July 1st or whatever it is. I just found out that Manny Ramirez is still getting paid by the Red Sox.
I saw something about that.
I think he gets like $2 million a year.
Yeah, that's insane for these guys to still collect a paycheck. But it works out in their benefit because they can sit at home and eat bonbons or do whatever they want to do, but they still get a check every year.
Manny Ramirez, no, he's not sitting home. He's over in Australia playing baseball.
He can. I'm surprised. I don't know what he's in his 40s now, or how old is he? Because he can. I think
he's got to be in his 50s.
Really? Okay. I guess if he stopped playing 20 years ago, so yeah, that would probably make sense. Roughly
48.
Okay. Yeah, so he's still in his 40s, and he can still,
He plays for the Sydney Blue Sox.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's still. Hey, if you still feel like you can play, then by all means go for it. But
it's Manny Ramirez, man. He can sit there. He could stand in the left field for nobody would care.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, kind of going back to the Dodgers real quick. In order for them to sign or trade for Nolan Arenado, it's going to be really hard, to be honest, because you've got $17 million in cap room. That if you are trying to stay under the luxury tax, it's going to be difficult, and I don't see them doing it.
I don't think that they care about staying under the tax, that threshold.
Yeah.
They just won a World Series, so they're probably thinking, 2021 World Series are bust, because everybody's sitting here thinking, oh, you won it in a 60-game season. You win it in a 162-game season now.
Right.
So they're trying to throw all their chips into it.
Oh, yeah. And they've been trying to do that for the last 8 years or so. Still trying to get over that hurdle, which they finally did. But,
Yeah.
Well, they've won the division the last 7 years, I believe, 8 years.
Yeah. Well, 60-game season. Granted, they had the same chance everybody else did, but 162-game season is a lot different. I'm not saying that they're not champions or anything like that. I kind of view it a little bit different. I'm not saying that it should have an asterisk next to their World Series championship. I'm just saying that I view it a little bit differently, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of other people out there are going to view it the same way.
Right. Yeah.
162 games, man. You have the opportunity to get hurt. Kershaw could have gotten hurt in that 162 games. Who knows what could have happened? Mookie Betts could have ran into a wall. Cody Bellinger, look at that. He had to go get surgery this offseason on his shoulder. So though it was the championship, they won it fair and square. Congratulations to the Dodgers.
Right.
But I really do want to see them do it in a 162-game season.
I think we all do, to be honest. I think like you mentioned, 60 games is in a COVID year is something, it's especially in a bubble system and all that took place. But 162 games with Kershaw, with Betts, Corey Seager, guys like that can still bring make an impact on that lineup. So yeah, 162 games, but you really can't count the Dodgers to make whatever types of moves. I think they want to try to compete with the Yankees and get back into the winning World Series traditions that they were so accustomed to back in the the 80s and 70s and whatnot. So, but Magic Johnson and his group, we never know what's going to happen with them.
No, and I feel like if they add Nolan Arenado, it's basically just cheating. You might as well just give them that piece of metal.
Oh, yeah, don't. That still irritates me when it's called that every time. Thanks to our lovely friend, I won't say his name, but man, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Dodgers are able to work out a deal.
I'm hoping that's the case, is that he doesn't. I hope it's just a rumor or whatever. I'd like to see Nolan Arenado stay with the Rockies. Granted, he deserves to be on a championship team or even a team that has that chance to be in the playoffs. The Rockies. Boy.
They didn't do anything in the offseason last year.
They never do, though.
And that's the thing. I think that's probably what frustrates Arenado the most, is because they don't do anything. Ownership is content with the lineup that they have that can go out there and try to win them a championship. But I really think that you're going to have more key pieces to get over that hurdle. Yes, they were in the World Series back in, 2007 against your Red Sox, right?
They didn't win.
No. They
I thought you said yeah.
No, but they played.
Yeah, and the Red Sox spanked the hell out of them.
Yeah, so that's the last time they've been to a World Series. And, they've been in the playoffs here and there. But I think if you want to make your player that's, making the most money on the payroll, you want to try to build your team around him. And, I hope they do something. I hope they're able to kind of.
They're going to end up trading him somehow. They're going to end up screwing this up. It's literally going to be the Rockies' way. And what's going to end up happening is, if he goes wherever else, the whole Mookie Betts being traded by the Boston Red Sox won't be the dumbest thing a team has done in recent years. It's literally going to be like, I can't believe that you guys couldn't keep it together. Like the ownership, management, upper management, the front office, whatever, they're making it so he's not happy.
Right, exactly.
And he signed an 8-year extension. He didn't want to have an opt-out. He wanted to play his career there. And they basically forced him for that opt-out.
Yeah, and Colorado is a place where it's a hitter's ballpark.
Absolutely.
And that ballpark plays perfectly to his style of play. And it only makes sense for the Rockies to go out and try to get another key piece. Just kind of looking at their payroll real quick. If you look at everything that we kind of mentioned with the other ball clubs, they have about $167 million that is on their payroll. So that leaves them about $42 million to go out and actually bring in some key pieces, whether it be pitching, another bat, bullpen help, whatever it might be, to get them over the hump. They've got the money to do it.
I thought the one cool thing that the Rockies did do this past offseason was they brought Daniel Bard in. That was pretty cool in my opinion. Is being a Red Sox fan and seeing Daniel Bard come back after, what was it, 13 years or something, not 13, but 8 years, I think it was. I think the last time he had pitched in a professional game was 2012 or 2013 or something like that.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about. I had to think there for a second, but then yeah, I know he was out of baseball for such a long period of time, and then they gave him the opportunity, and he came back and made the team.
Yeah, they gave
So
him a minor league contract.
yeah,
So that was
so
pretty cool.
that was pretty cool. So I hope the Rockies are able to, get into the off season and kind of make some moves to keep your key players happy and to keep your fans happy as well. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. Maybe the Rockies will kind of change it up. So, but man,
with the new format, we're going to end the show talking about some Seattle Mariners legends. So who do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about Randy Johnson? You want to talk about Edgar Martinez? You want to talk about Ichiro? You want to talk about A-Rod? You want to talk about Felix Hernandez? Let's go, man.
Man, we can go anywhere in any direction.
I would definitely love to talk about A-Rod when he was with the Mariners.
So I want to touch on this thing with the Mariners real quick because they are the only team.
Oh, you had to go there.
It's important because I mean they are the only team that has not been to a World Series, and and the players that you mentioned, the A-Rods, the Ichiros, the Randy Johnsons. I mean they had those key.
The
players.
Griffeys.
It's hard to not forget about Griffey because we just he was our segment at the beginning of the show. But I mean, the Mariners are a team that, let's look at Ichiro for a second. During his time back in 2001, he had a 350 batting average.
Jesus Christ! No, he did. Really?
He did. He had a 350 batting average in 2001. Remember Brett Boone?
Yep.
Batted 331, had 37 homers that year. And then, you've got guys like John Olerud, who was on that team. Edgar Martinez. I actually saw Edgar Martinez play back in 2003. And that's kind of one of those prime examples of why the DH is so significant. It's because he was up there in age, kind of around age 40 or so, I think. Kind of in the end of his career. And I remember seeing him just kind of casually hit a ball to deep center field, and it looked like it was going to get caught right at the wall, but that ball just kept carrying just a little bit. It went right over, and for a home run. But I mean, that's kind of he's probably the prime example of why the DH is so important.
You know what's so great about Edgar Martinez? He was born in New York City.
Really?
Right? Yeah, he was born in New York City. He spent his entire career with the Mariners. He played from 1987 till 2004 for the Mariners. And you know what else is cool about that? His career batting average. Do you know what that is?
I had it and then I lost it. But go ahead. Tell me what it is.
312.
Wow.
That's a career.
That is a career. That is, he's one of those that, gosh, you knew what you were getting when Lou Piniella made that lineup. You knew what kind of batter he was, what you were going to expect, and you can slide him in any part of the lineup. 1 through 3, 4, 5, and 6. I mean, he kind of towards the end of his career was kind of around the 8 hole, 9 hole. But anyways, I mean,
but if you have a guy that's his career is 312, you put him wherever.
Exactly.
But he also, I mean, like he didn't have a crap load of home runs. I mean, in that span from 87 to 2004, he only hit 309 home runs.
Yeah. In today's game, that would be something that you kind of would scratch your head about as not being productive. But at that era, I mean, that's still something for his age and everything too.
Yeah, he was good. He was definitely good. Now, the other thing, like you've got, like I said, I wanted to talk about A-Rod because I absolutely loved A-Rod when he played for the Mariners. He was by far one of my favorite shortstops. I still think that when he played for the Yankees, I not so much as a classy move, but I think it was good on him for I'll play third base instead of telling Derek Jeter that he needs to move.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that he had the better arm.
Oh yeah, and Derek Jeter was entering his prime as a phenomenal shortstop, and
But you also don't ask the captain to move.
exactly. Jeter had command of that team.
Yep.
A-Rod knew it. He respected it.
Yep.
Said, "Hey, I'll play third base," and the rest is history. He did.
There was another thing that A-Rod did that I liked. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he was made to do that," and I don't care if he was made to do it or not. But there was an All-Star game that he was the All-Star shortstop. And he was like, "Nah, this is Cal Ripken Jr.'s spot, and I'm going to play third base and have Cal go over here and play shortstop." And that's what happened. I thought that was pretty cool.
I agree. Cal Ripken, the Iron Man, but that just goes to show you how much respect that Alex Rodriguez had for the game and for those that had come before him in that position. Maybe today we hopefully would see something like that, but to give up your position and to do it with such class at an all-star game, it made perfect sense at that time. It was fitting, it was picturesque, it was such an iconic moment, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, Alex Rodriguez definitely respected those that had come before him.
Yeah, before he ended up becoming that snotty person when he was with the Yankees, I think, or actually not even with the Yankees, it was with the Rangers. It was when he signed that huge deal with them. He was just like, "I'm better than everybody," kind of. Yeah. I enjoyed watching him play. So
I unfortunately did not get the opportunity to watch him play live.
I never watched him play live. I did watch him play live. I watched him in 2013 with the Yankees. They were playing up at Fenway.
Okay, very nice. Yeah.
So I had a sign that said that A-Rod sits to pee. It was also the last appearance that Mariano Rivera made at Fenway.
Okay.
And it was my dad's birthday present. So, and the Red Sox spanked him.
Oh, but it was fitting all the way around.
Yep.
I don't know how we can move forward from that now.
So let's go ahead and talk about the two pitchers. We got Felix Hernandez. Let's end off on the big unit. All right.
Okay.
So we got Felix Hernandez, who is known as the king. And
yes.
He was the king of Seattle. He played with Seattle from 2005 to 2019. He had a win-loss record of 169 and 136, and he had an career ERA of 3.42. He had over 2,500 strikeouts. He had 6 All-Stars. He was the American League Cy Young Award winner. He was the MLB wins leader. So that's not just American League or National League. That's MLB altogether. And he was also the a 2-time American League ERA leader. He also pitched a perfect game on August 15th, 2012. And if you don't know what an immaculate inning is, I'll let Rip explain that to you. On June 17th, 2008. I know what it is, but I'm just getting you involved here. So why don't you explain to the fine folks out there what an immaculate inning is?
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot, man.
Oh, you didn't know it off the top of your head?
Ah.
So an immaculate inning is where you throw 9 pitches and you
Okay.
strike out at each batter.
Okay, so he went 3 up, 3 down, 3 strikeouts, 9 pitches.
Yep.
Okay.
That's an immaculate inning. I thought you knew that. Sorry to put you on the spot there, bro.
This is kind of embarrassing now. So my baseball IQ went down.
Nah, dude, it's fine, man. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, so that's true. But I mean, you know, given his pitching style and the way he kind of the city of Seattle just kind of embraced him when he left to go to Atlanta, I'm sure it was hard for him.
Who he actually never actually pitched for.
Right. But just hearing that he's in a different uniform.
It's weird. It's like hearing that Ken Griffey Jr. was a Chicago White Sox.
Right, exactly. It's you get so accustomed to hearing these players, you know, and you know, a lot of times, you know, players don't spend their entire career with one team unless you're Griffey, you know. Well, no, sorry, not Griffey. You know, Chipper Jones. He was one that played his entire career with his with one team. But still, you get so accustomed to these guys and them in their uniform. It's just weird for them to be somewhere else. But just kind of going back to his career with Seattle was nothing short of impressive. I think he's on the fast track to Hall of Fame. And that's just my opinion. Some may agree, some may not. But still, I mean, Felix Hernandez, he's the king for a reason. And his play and his pitching style shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that he has a good season. Or he comes back next year. He has a good season. I keep forgetting, like all year I've been talking about, or off season, I've been talking about how like the Red Sox need pitching and whatnot. I'm not saying that they need to go ahead and like check him out and, you know, sign him or whatever. He's not going to be that person that's going to have them go over the hump. But I mean, like that might be a person that they could take interest in, you know? So
it would definitely be interesting to see him in a Red Sox uniform pitching in Fenway. I mean, nothing is out of the ordinary when we look at.
Well, with our chief of baseball operations, I mean, they're talking about how they're interested in signing or interested in J.A. Happ. So I don't really want to talk about that. I'm a little irritated there. So I'm talking about a lefty. Let's, you know, do you have anything else on the King?
No, I think we touched on all of his career stats. I mean, he's a 15-year veteran. You know, you mentioned his career ERA is a 3.42 in 419 games. I mean, you know, definitely impressive numbers over a span of 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, the next guy has an even more impressive stats.
Right. So we'll close with the big unit, Randy Johnson. You know, he was 6'10", 225 pounds. That could that made John Kruk, you know, quiver in the batter's box. Who
I couldn't imagine sitting in the batter's box watching him freaking throwing a ball. It probably even today. It's like I probably could. No thanks. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, no. You know, Randy Johnson, he's a 300-game winner, 303 wins, 166 losses, a career ERA 3.29, and over a span of 22 years. It seems like that's.
Can you believe he pitched 22 years and he was
22 years.
He played for 6 different teams.
I did not realize he pitched for the Giants.
him up. I want to say it was a few months back. I don't know what it was. Oh, I remember what it was. Somebody was talking about like Garrett Cole. It was in the 2019 World Series. They were talking about Garrett Cole and who from the Houston Astros like passed which pitchers he would be, and like they had Roger Clemens, they had the unit, the big unit, and I was just like, wait a minute, he pitched for the Astros? I didn't know that.
He did. He was a rental.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that because he played with the Seattle Mariners in '98, and it says 98 for the Astros.
Right. That was the year they went. I think they got to the NLDS. I think they lost. I have to go back and look. I should know that. But, yeah, they brought him in as a rental to try to get over. They won the Central Division now. They were in the National League at that time. So,
Right.
But yeah, they did bring him in to try to get to the postseason, get to the World Series. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do it, and he left abruptly after the season ended and went to
Arizona,
where he found success.
He ended up on one of the best pitching staffs. It was between him and Kurt Schilling, basically like the two aces, and they ended up beating the Yankees in 2001. But the other thing that I didn't realize, I did know this before today, but back in 88 and 89, he was a Montreal Expo.
Yes, he was drafted by the Expos.
Yeah.
That's amazing for that. I mean, because you don't really, I don't want to say key players, but you kind of forget about the Expos until you see somebody who was actually drafted by them back in the 80s or 90s or whatever. But yeah, he was actually drafted by the Montreal Expos. Looks like he played 2 seasons with the Expos before going to Seattle.
He didn't even play a full season that second season. He was traded on May 25th of 89.
Okay, there it is right there. The 2 teams. Okay. And then he went on to have a stellar career with the Mariners. Before he left the Mariners in 98 and 97, he won 20 games. He also had a win-loss record of an 8.33, which is a 20-4 record. It's insane. In 2008, at age 38, won 24 games with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Went 24-5.
So, career highlights and his awards. Check this out. He's got 10 All-Star games. He's a World Series champion, 2001 with the Diamondbacks. It's so weird to know that he only won 1 World Series, and he also pitched for the New York Yankees. So that's kind of, weird.
That is weird.
He's a 5-time Cy Young Award winner. He won the World Series MVP in 2001. He won the Triple Crown in 2002. Now that's as a pitcher. You don't see that too often. He was a 4-time ERA leader. He was a 9-time strikeout leader, which that's insane. He pitched a perfect game on May 18th, 2004. That was for
against the Atlanta Braves.
Okay. And then he pitched a no-hitter on June 2nd in 1990.
Very stellar career stats from the big unit.
Yeah. And also he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. He had 97.3% first ballot votes.
Gosh. That's amazing. That truly is amazing to get that many votes. Uh, guys, you can think of Derek Jeter, who got the unanimous vote, this past, he was inducted this year. But
Mariano Rivera got unanimous.
Oh, that's right. There's one person that
There's that one asshole who is just like, nah.
I still want to know who that was.
Nobody's ever gonna say it because they know that you know what it is. It was that guy's wife or girlfriend at one point came home with a basket, and that was Derek Jeter's things. He would send the ladies home with a gift basket. So before we end up going, I know that I said the Randy Johnson, his induction in 2015 was a 97.3% first ballot vote. But the guy that we started off talking about, there's two things that I forgot to bring up before we actually end the show today. The kid was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016 with 99.32% first ballot votes.
Wow.
So that's basically saying that there was one person who's just like, nah, he doesn't deserve it. Which
one person to ruin it all.
Right.
And if you're a perfectionist, it probably would irritate you that you didn't get that one vote.
Right. So the other thing that I really wanted to point out with Ken Griffey Jr. is the fact that now everybody knows that I believe it's April 15th is Jackie Robinson Day.
Yes.
Junior was the one that was behind all of that. He started wearing the number 42 to celebrate Jackie Robinson, and then he went up to Bud Selig, and he was like, we need to do this. And so they ended up retiring Jackie Robinson's number throughout all of the teams. And at that point in time, I believe there was I think there might have been two players at the time that were wearing the number 42. But I know the last person to wear the number 42 as their own number was Mariano Rivera, and he was grandfathered in. So every year when the players end up wearing the number 42, it's thanks to Ken Griffey Jr. to showing, tribute to Jackie Robinson. And I think that's pretty cool.
I agree 100%. I think, Jackie Robinson paid the wave.
It paved the way.
Hold on. Let me get.
He paved the way.
Paved the way. Paved the way for guys like Ken Griffey Jr. to have success in baseball, and that is truly remarkable for Griffey to go and make that gesture just to honor Jackie Robinson. Truly phenomenal.
Yeah, and I loved it. I love everything that I found out about him. There's other tidbit things that are out there that people don't know about. I know I don't want to leave it on a somber note, so I'm not going to bring up that. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, Griffey, in my opinion, was probably one of my favorite players outside of Don Mattingly. I would definitely put him up in the top 5.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I didn't touch on Griffey, and we'll close with this. Do you know he has 630 home runs?
Yep.
Ranked 6th all time.
Yep.
Do you know, he's ranked 7th all time. Do you know who is in front of him?
I could look it up, but I'm going to let you tell me.
Willie Mays.
And ain't it weird that they both wear the number 24?
Number 24. Gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? 24. One of the best numbers in baseball.
Wonder when that one's going to end up being retired.
It will happen soon. I have a feeling.
So how'd you feel about the new format?
It went good, man. It went good. I enjoyed it. Lots of good information, good things to learn, good things to talk about. And I mean, that's one of the things, we get to educate ourselves on these past and present players and teams and all that good stuff in between. So it was a lot of fun, man. I enjoyed it. How about you?
I definitely enjoyed it. Learned doesn't get talked about nearly as much as other teams out there. I hope that we get to do something like this on a more frequent basis. And if there's people out there that want to contribute and like let us know how it sounded and what you thought of the format, definitely hit us up. Let us know. If you're listening to us right now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel or subscribe to the podcast. Give us a review. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Just like leave us something. Let us know how we're doing. If we're doing bad and you think we're doing bad, let us know so that we can improve. Other than that, dude, I have nothing else.
I think it was a great show. I think that's a perfect, way to end the show. So I think we'll end it right here. I think it was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do this again next week. So be sure to tune in. Like Brad said, subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. But that's going to do it for us, guys. We thoroughly appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all those that are listening out there. Don't eat too much turkey or pie, or if you do, then take a long nap.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Rip Griffin Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. Follow Rip on Twitter @RipGriffin2.